What is going on, everybody? It is good to be back. We have our first mock draft here after free agency has begun, so many needs have been filled, so much thinking has changed. I'm really excited to bring this mock draft to you guys. First order of business, make sure you drop a like down below, because if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will bring to you guys a second and third round mock video following up to this first round mock draft. Also, a reminder, if you enjoy my draft content, you want access to the full TFG Draft Insider package, which includes access to my full draft board that's going to have profiles on over 600 players this year, exclusive film breakdowns on these players, and team-specific 7-round mock drafts. You can get access to that on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/ThatFranchiseGuy, so make sure you go check that out. And per usual, this will be a what I would do mock draft. So save your "this would never happen" comments for another video. This is me placing myself in the GM seat of all 32 NFL teams, trying to make the best pick at each spot, but also considering trades from both sides. So also keep that in mind. If you think your team should trade down where I have them, well, it takes two to tango. I will mention it if I thought about it, but I'm sitting in every GM chair, so I need to think logically for the other team that wants to trade up as well. So let's hop in here. Joe Burrow, number 1 of the Bengals, no movement here. This has been beat into the bush. Let's move on. The Washington Redskins. Now, I did think about a trade down here, but I really like what Ron Rivera is doing here. I think they're making all the right moves. I like that they're being stubborn with Trent Williams, trying to kind of mend those wounds there. He's a super valuable player, can help them win right away, and so can this player right here, Chaisson, one of 2 blue chip players in this class. I would like the value you could get from moving down, but I also will talk about Miami and some other teams on why I wouldn't give up picks to move up for Tua. But from Washington's perspective, I think this really is a slam dunk. Best player in the class. You've got some pretty good edge rushers, but you don't have that true elite number 1 guy, especially with Ryan Kerrigan kind of trending downwards at his age. You could really have one of the 3 best interior edge defensive line combos in the entire league that Ron Rivera can totally build around. Then the 3rd pick with Detroit. This one I spent a long time thinking about. Definitely would have taken the clock down to 1 second on this one. Obviously considered a trade down if a team like Miami would blow their load to come and move up and get Tua. Again, we'll talk about that from Miami's perspective when we get to their pick, why there is no trade here. Now, to me, the pick is Isaiah Simmons, who is, with Chase Young, one of 2 blue chip prospects in this class, and that's it. I talked about this in my last mock draft, but I'll talk about it again. Simmons is a weird scheme fit if you view him as a linebacker in this Lions, Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick multiple defense. They want their linebackers bigger guys that can hold their gaps, stack, shed in a traditional sense. If you're an outside linebacker here, you got to have that pass rushing skill set as well. That's not Isaiah Simmons' game. He is a space player, a coverage player. Yeah, he can play against the run and take on some blocks, but that's not what he does, and he played safety for the most part in college, even though I do view him now as a linebacker at the next level, coming in at almost 240 pounds in Indianapolis at the Combine. But what I'm getting at here is, for Matt Patricia and this defense, he's probably going to be more of a safety in that Patrick Chung role, where he's going to be a strong safety, a weak side linebacker, a nickel corner. And that's actually what he did really well at Clemson. So he's going to be very comfortable doing that. Are you maximizing his value by doing that? You may or may not. He could actually be insane at that. He runs a 4.39 and he's 6'4", 235 pounds. He could be something like a better Derwin James at that position. We don't know necessarily. But he really wouldn't be a linebacker here in the traditional sense of the word. But I think that's fine. And honestly, Matt Patricia's on the hot seat anyway. If you can't figure out how to use Isaiah Simmons, who's the most versatile, modern, prototype cover player to ever come out probably, then you're just not the answer at head coach. I'm sorry. So we're going to take Isaiah Simmons. That's the reasoning. Let's move on to the New York Giants at number 4. Now, we had a trade down here in our last mock draft. That was with the Indianapolis Colts, who gave up that 12th pick They went on, signed Phillip Rivers, and traded that 12th pick for DeForest Buckner. I don't see another dance partner here to move all the way up to 4 that has the draft capital to be willing to make that move for a quarterback. So for the Giants, their goal here has to be getting one of these tackles. No trade down partner. They signed Bradbury in free agency, so Okudah's off the table. Pretty simple pick here. Grab the best tackle. For me, that's Andrew Thomas. For other people, it's going to be Jedrick Wills, maybe even Tristan Wirfs. That's fine. I won't spend time arguing that. I just know for me, my number 1 tackle is Andrew Thomas, so that is the pick. Number 5, the Miami Dolphins. Lots of conversation to be had here. If you've watched my other mock drafts, you understand my thought process here, but let me beat it into the bush yet again. I said back in January, I'm not taking Tua here and putting him behind quite possibly the worst offensive line we have ever seen. At the time, Dolphins fans said, "Oh, we'll just fix our offensive line through free agency." All those comments, I responded, yeah, I believe it when I see it. 2 or 3 good linemen hit the market every year, and the entire league flocks to sign them. Sure enough, Brandon Scherf gets tagged, Joe Thuney gets tagged. The Redskins are playing hardball with Trent Williams. 2 good offensive linemen hit the market, and you didn't land either of them. What do you do instead? You sign Eric Flowers to a massive contract who stinks. This offensive line doesn't have capable tackles, guards, or centers. 0 for 5 on starting caliber players on this offensive line. It has not improved. Now let's talk about Tua for a second, who seemingly every Dolphins fan has fallen in love with that thinks it's a slam dunk pick here. Look, I like Tua. I've said it. He's my number 2 quarterback without the injury concerns. The reality is, you can't just erase those injury concerns. They are a real thing. You put him behind the worst offensive line we've maybe ever seen, where he's coming from Alabama, where he had elite protection and was basically throwing against air with the receivers he had. That's asking for disaster, especially if you want to trade up for him. And, my comp for Tua is actually something, I think he could be something like Baker Mayfield in his rookie year. Well, Baker as a rookie had some of the best pass protection in the league that year. His tackles started sucking in year 2, and all of a sudden, he was awful. Everything broke down. So I'm not taking Tua if I'm Miami without some sort of stability on that offensive line, and that's why we're going to take Jedrick Wills with the 5th pick. And look, you still have 2 first-round picks. There's still Jordan Love and Tua on the board, who I like. So you're not even ruling out getting those guys later in this draft by making this pick. But these tackles are going to be in high demand, and Andrew Thomas is already gone. You start waiting too long, and you're starting to throw darts at offensive line. That's not what Jedrick Wills is. He's one of the best tackle prospects, at least in the last 5 years. So let's fix this freaking offensive line a little bit before we start thinking about Tua Tagovailoa. Now we get to the Chargers at 6. It's somewhat similar thinking. I think they have a much better surrounding situation than Miami does. I'd think about Tua, I'd think about Jordan Love, and I did for a long time. But a lot of the stuff we talked about with the offensive line here, even though they brought in Bulaga, they brought in Trey Turner, it's still not very good. And the Chargers have gone 10 years with tackle woes. They could go another 10 before they get an opportunity to bring in a young, talented player like Tristan Wirfs. All of a sudden, you got Wirfs and Bulaga, a couple Iowa boys at tackle, Turner, a veteran guard. You got some youth on the interior there to hopefully get pumped up by these other guys, and all of a sudden, you have an elite surrounding core. Maybe you go get an Andy Dalton. Maybe you move up later in the draft to get a different quarterback. But right now, this is the pick for me, the pick I would make. It's not an easy decision, quite as much as it was with Miami. But I think the value of offensive line has spoken for the last few years, and this is the best pick to make here for the Chargers. All right, now it gets a little easier. Jeff Okudah here to the Panthers. Absolute no-brainer. Bradbury's gone. They brought in Teddy to bridge the waters for the future as they kind of rebuild here. But you get a cornerstone corner. Sorry for the wordplay. That second one was unintended. To build your team around here. So pretty easy pick here. Carolina, Jeff Okudah. Now with the 8th pick, we got a little more conversation to have here. So Arizona stole DeAndre Hopkins from Houston. You're basically playing with house money for this entire draft because that trade was so good. But let's still think logically here with this pick. I would love to go offensive tackle, but I've fallen less in love with Mekhi Becton. Hey, I said it right, guys. Do you hear that? The more I've watched him since his combine, where he basically just ran a good 40 at a big size. Super raw, high upside guy. To me, not worth the 8th overall pick in the draft. So offensive tackle to me at 8 is kind of off the table. Definitely thinking about Derrick Brown here. You got some vets. You did sign Jordan Phillips over from Buffalo, so not quite a demanding need. Definitely it would be the pick, but I'm looking to trade, and let's talk about a partner here in the Miami Dolphins. Moving up to take Tua Tagovailoa. So there you go, Miami. I've finally given you Tua, but in a way that he doesn't have to get destroyed back there. You've given him now an elite tackle prospect. You're giving up the 18th pick, the 26th pick, and your first pick in the third round. You still have multiple picks in the second round to target those offensive linemen that, frankly, after those three guys are gone, there's depth at tackle, and not a lot of guards are taken in the first round, actually none. So this really doesn't compromise your ability to draft the offensive lineman that I would be taking anyway. But you get Jedrick Wills, who protected Tua. You actually keep him at right tackle, which is going to be Tua's blind side. It's a perfect pairing, and it's a great move for Arizona, who instead of taking an interior defensive lineman at 8, which is a very much devalued position, you collect a bunch of great picks and can start filling out this roster even more. So there we go. There's peace in the world. Number 9, we're going to have another trade here. So for Jacksonville, total rebuild here. You're basically throwing Gardner Minshew to the Wolves next year. I almost feel bad for him at this point. The tackles are gone. The best players on the board are wide receivers. That's actually the one place I like Jacksonville's roster. So a pick here just doesn't make a ton of sense. And it's going to be the same here. And after free agency, this makes even more sense. The Philadelphia Eagles giving up their first round pick, a future first round pick, and actually a third round pick this year as well. They have an extra comp pick in there. So they'll be a little light on picks, but you're walking out of the offseason now with Jerry Jeudy and Darius Slay. Their two biggest needs, corner and wide receiver. Safety room is hurting a little bit. Maybe you sign someone on the cheap. Maybe you grab one in the second round. But this team is very clearly in win now mode. They're being very aggressive. Let's keep up that mentality and go all in on this season. And, you know, you give up a future first round pick, your third round this year. It's not going to ruin the future of your team if you don't win a Super Bowl. And you get a young 21-year-old superstar wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy. All right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Number 10 here. This was a really tough pick with those tackles gone for Cleveland. Now they did get Jack Conklin, so they're not quite as desperate for that tackle. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb, so pairing Oklahoma with Oklahoma. A lot of Browns fans might not love this, but hear me out. I like Odell. I think you can rely on him as your number one guy, but there are some questions there, right? Some injury stuff, some off-the-field stuff. I don't think it's too big of a deal, but it's there nonetheless. CeeDee Lamb is by far the best player on the board right now, by the way. Jarvis Landry, really good player, but a slot guy, and a very expensive slot guy at that. This team's been pretty aggressive with their cap. If you could save $11 million next year, or even further than that, $15 million 2 years from now to get rid of him, move on, it might be a nice luxury to have. CeeDee Lamb is a freak. He's a legitimate number one wide receiver type of guy. You know he's going to work well with Baker, former teammate. Baker throws an excellent deep ball. So if you can't bring in a value pick at tackle here, why not give Baker the best wide receiving core ever? I don't know. Maybe. Good luck covering this group of receivers. Pick 11 here. The Jets. They've been lucky enough to have CeeDee Lamb fall to them. It's not going to happen in this world. To me, the best players available are interior defensive linemen, which the Jets definitely do not need, and Henry Ruggs. So Henry Ruggs is the need. He's up there as far as best players available. I don't know if he's a true number one guy, but he's a Deshaun Jackson-esque deep threat, a better version of what you had in Robbie Anderson, to say the least, who did have a pretty good rapport with Sam Darnold. So I like this pick. It's not quite as good as the CeeDee Lamb pick, but not too far behind either. Now the Raiders, Jordan Love falling into their lap. A lot of Raiders fans want to stand by Derek Carr. I've heard Raiders fans that want to move on. It's my opinion that it's going to be very difficult to win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. He's very conservative every year towards the bottom as far as depth of target. He throws a nice deep ball. He just doesn't try it enough. And I think it just kind of limits their ceiling. He's got problems on third down as well as far as instincts and playmaking ability. Like, he's fine, but this is a great situation for Jordan Love. Great offensive line. You got some good signings at linebacker in the free agency, so you're not going to be drafting linebacker. Too early for a corner here. It's a perfect spot for Jordan Love to sit for a year, which I think is what he needs to do, and really have that untapped potential come out in year 2 with a great offensive coordinator, great offensive line. Gives you a little time to build some playmakers around him vertically as well, because they got some good short to intermediate threats. So love this pick with Jordan Love to the Raiders at 12. Now we get the Niners at 13. So this is new. They moved up with the Colts for DeForest Buckner, and we're going to grab a replacement, Javon Kinlaw. Now, Derrick Brown is actually my number 1 interior defensive lineman. A little slower, a bit more of like a nose tackle type. I think the Niners are going to fall in love with Javon Kinlaw as a perfect replacement for DeForest Buckner. They run that wide 9 scheme. They like guys that can 2-gap, that can run a little bit, and that's going to be Javon Kinlaw for them. So it's a pretty easy pick for me. Now, this one's going to be controversial. Tampa Bay at 14. Just signed Tom Brady. Now, I think they have got to draft offensive linemen here at 14. Obviously, those top 3 offensive tackles are gone. Now, I hinted at the fact that Mekhi Becton has actually fallen down my board the more I watch him. I don't think it's a great pick if you took Becton here to put a raw offensive tackle there with Tom Brady, who's 43 years old, not just from a potential injury perspective, but just like you want the best players at that position. And to me, Matt Peart out of Connecticut is the best pick here. Definitely thought about a trade down, but I don't know who it really made a ton of sense for. It's going to seem like a reach to a lot of people, but I think this guy can really play. I think he would have been a first rounder in last year's class for sure. In real life, he might fall to the second round. He might go in the first. If he does, don't be surprised. He's 6'7", he's lengthy, he's got excellent technique, much better run blocker than Mekhi Becton. So to me, especially with Tom Brady here, trying to win right now, this just makes way more sense to me than Mekhi Becton. Denver Broncos at 15, Justin Jefferson, easy pick here. He's a top 15 player in this class, right around the 15 mark, but still, you can put him in the slot because you got Cortland Sutton on the outside. You can put him on the outside in 2 wide receiver sets. Slam dunk pick here for the Broncos. The Atlanta Falcons at 16, they almost desperately need to go cornerback here. This is about where the value starts to come in for guys like CJ Henderson and Kristian Fulton. Desmond Trufant's gone, and they don't really have a whole lot of guys after him. So we're going to take CJ Henderson, number 2 corner for me. Pretty easy decision there. Similar thinking here for the Dallas Cowboys, Kristian Fulton. Now, the Cowboys aren't desperate at cornerback, but they definitely need some help there. Also looking down the road a little bit, Chidobe Awuzie, I think only has 1 year left after this one. They are not going to have a lot of money after they pay Dak Prescott what he's asking for. They got Zeke under contract. They just gave Amari Cooper $20 million. So they got to start thinking about the future a little more as well if they are going to lose Awuzie. So Kristian Fulton can plug right in there and start day 1 at corner and be a long-term answer. Now the Arizona Cardinals, where they traded down, the board played out perfectly for them to get Derrick Brown here at 18. Whew, man. Talk about the Cardinals winning the offseason if this happened. Brown is a top 10 player as far as talent goes, but it is a diminished position, and some people don't see him as this high-end pass rusher. I do think he can be like a Kenny Clark, who can generate enough pressure as a pass rusher that he stays on the field for all 3 downs to the point that he does have value. But there's no denying what he does best is stop the run, and the Cardinals need some of that too. So just an amazing pick. I don't think it would happen, but it wouldn't be the biggest fall that we've ever seen, especially with how teams are thinking these days. Now we get the Raiders again at 19. This was a tough spot for me. Most of my best players available here just weren't huge needs for this team. Wide receiver, probably their biggest need right now. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take T. Higgins. To me, it's a slight reach. I see him as a late first, early second round guy. I just have some questions on how well he's going to separate at the next level, but he does plug in perfectly with this offense with the personnel they have there. They need that number 1 profile on the outside. Carr works really well with Michael Crabtree, who's a similar player here with T. Higgins, but it also gives you a little more of a vertical element for when Jordan Love eventually takes over. So it's a win now move, it's a win for the future move. Value's a little iffy, but it wouldn't be the first time the Raiders reached on a player out of Clemson. All right, Jacksonville with the 20th pick, edge player AJ Epenesa. So the Jags are just loading up on picks. And I think you got to have a balance of risky picks, high floor picks, really just round out this roster in general, and AJ Epenesa is going to do that. He's going to plug right in where Calais Campbell left. That's a decent pro comp for him. He's not quite as explosive and big, but a very similar player. He can kick inside on pass rush downs a little bit, but he can rush well off the edge. Elite run defender, day one probably. If not elite, very good. So excellent scheme fit. And then we're going to go with another great scheme fit here, Grant Delpit. I actually believe in this guy a lot. His sophomore tape was incredible. They used him a ton at free safety, which I disagree with. I think he's more of a strong safety type of player, closer to a guy like Jamal Adams coming out of LSU. Jacksonville needs that role in this old Seattle scheme. They want that Cam Chancellor role. They don't have it right now. So, I mean, these are two guys that are going to plug perfectly into this scheme and probably be 10-year starters here if they don't let him go like every other star player they end up getting. Then the Vikings, this is new as well. They got this pick from Buffalo for Stefon Diggs. Huge need here, edge rush. I'm going to grab K'Lavon Chaisson. I do believe Everson Griffin's coming back. Either way, he's not a long-term answer there. Chaisson has been compared to Danielle Hunter coming out of LSU. A little raw, but a freak. So, I mean, a year behind Everson Griffin with Danielle Hunter, literally following the same path, the same coach. Can you imagine two Danielle Hunters on this defense? Oh, man. This would be such a great pick for the Vikings. Then number 23, Jake Fromm to the New England Patriots. There's only a few teams that are really going to value Jake Fromm as a first-round kind of guy. Also, the Patriots, I don't want to say they're desperate at quarterback, but they definitely need one. So even if he's a second-round value, you got to sometimes reach for these quarterbacks. But here's the deal. He's going to run this scheme perfectly. Super smart guy, can process defenses, nice clean release. He can move a little better than Tom Brady as well. But you don't have to totally blow things up here by bringing Jake Fromm in. My comparison for him is actually Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he ever going to be a top 10 guy? Maybe not. But I feel very confident that Jake Fromm can be a top 15 to 20 starter in this league. I think a lot of his criticisms are very unfair. I've lowered on him a little bit, but I still have a first to second round grade on him. And I think this is the perfect scheme fit. So we're going to grab Jake Fromm here for New England. Pick 24, the New Orleans Saints. Going to grab Kenneth Murray. Profile's very similar to Demario Davis, who they have there, who's on the last year of his deal and is getting older. So perfect heir apparent there. It is a need. They need a linebacker next to him to kind of learn next to him. Really good value. Easy pick there for the Saints. The Vikings here at 25. This is where I'm going to take Mekhi Becton. And he doesn't actually have to start right away if you don't want him to. You can give him that opportunity, but you can keep him as depth there at left tackle and develop him behind Riley Reiff, which he might need. The board played out perfectly for the Vikings here, getting Chaisson and Becton. The Vikings are a team that needs future upside and youth, and talk about getting that with Becton and Chaisson. Then pick 26. It's part of why I moved down here. We're going to grab Jack Driscoll out of Auburn. Now, similar to what we talked about with Matt Peart, he's not a guy that's getting thrown out there in a lot of mock drafts. To be honest, I don't know how much offensive tackle film a lot of these draft analysts are really diving into. But Driscoll stood out at the combine, a fluid mover. You dial up his tape, I kid you not, he is the most polished offensive tackle in this class, the best technique. Doesn't have the length or elite athletic traits that some of these other guys. But when I watched him at Auburn, I actually thought I was watching Brian Bulaga at right tackle, which for the Cardinals is a bigger need at right. He's going to be super comfortable, can plug right in. I think he's going to be a better player in year one than a guy like Mekhi Becton. So the Cardinals, after getting DeAndre Hopkins now, have gotten starters, not just a starter, but a freak starter at interior in Derrick Brown, and then a really good starting young player in Jack Driscoll, who to me would have been a first rounder last year easy, but is just getting buried behind a lot of good tackles in this class. Then 27, the Seattle Seahawks. Trevon Diggs, 6'2", over 200 pounds, perfect scheme fit. Can play that press defense. He's going to tackle coming out of Alabama. This one just makes too much sense. I could actually see this one happening pretty realistically in real life. Then pick 28, the Baltimore Ravens. Gonna land Patrick Queen here. Huge need at linebacker. Now, I was on Patrick Queen early back in January when most people had like 3rd, 4th round grades on him. Now people are pumping him up into the top 20, top 15. I'm not quite that high on him. He's still very young. He's barely played any games. He's got some developing to do. Unfortunately for the rest of the NFL, with the Baltimore Ravens, all they do is develop players there. So he's going to be a probably 6-time All-Pro linebacker for the Ravens. But yeah, great pick there for Baltimore. Now 29, Yetur Matos is available. A bit raw, but can really play anywhere on the edge, whether it's outside, linebacker, or putting his hand in the dirt. Gives you a little more size, opposite of Harold Landry, to get kind of that 1-2 punch going. Could be wrong, but I think Cam Wake is still there to kind of help him develop some pass rushing moves. Same can be said about Mike Vrabel, who knows a thing or two about defense. So great pick there for the Titans. Then pick 30 with the Green Bay Packers. Honestly, I had Devin Duvernay here, who some people have 3rd, 4th round grades on. I have a early 2nd round grade on Devin Duvernay. He is my 6th wide receiver, and Green Bay needs that speed separation in the slot that he's going to bring. Thing is, they could very likely get him if they move down into the early 2nd round. And there's a guy in Justin Herbert still sitting there. Is this going to happen in real life? I don't know. Probably not. He probably goes inside the top 10 to 15 picks. But I said the same thing about Drew Lock last year. We've seen falls. It's pretty unlikely that all 32 teams think the same way I do about Justin Herbert as kind of this Mitch Trubisky, Blake Bortles-esque prospect. So we're fudging a little bit saying this is what I would do, but I do think it makes a ton of sense. And I'm not fully sure Justin Herbert's going to be a bust. So we're going to move up with the Chargers, whose roster is complete. And you're actually not giving up too much here. You're giving up the 2nd round pick to move up, which technically you're not giving up anything because you're getting a pick back. We're going to swap 3rd and 4th round picks. So you move to the back end of the 3rd and 4th rounds while Green Bay moves up. And then you're going to get a future 4th round pick. So you're not giving up too much. You get that 5th year option. I actually think for the Chargers, the more I talk out loud, I think this actually makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. As much as I don't like Justin Herbert, he's got a ton of upside, and I can't picture a better surrounding situation for a guy like that. You might be getting Jared Goff here at the end of the end of the 1st round, which is a steal. And I don't love Jared Goff, but I mean, come on. So that's the move. Let's move on. San Francisco at 31. We're going to take Xavier McKinney. They did end up extending Jimmy Ward at free safety. McKinney's one of the best players left on the board. I can get behind a safety duo of McKinney and Jimmy Ward. McKinney can play kind of that strong safety, nickel role a little more. Dude's a playmaker. I think he'd be a great pick here for the Niners. And then I'm actually going to stick with Willie Gay here for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are a team that has shown the willingness to take a player like this that is going to have a red flag next to him on every single team's draft board. Dude served so many suspensions. A lot of it isn't very clear on what happened. Now, it seems all academic, and all reports are that he's a good guy and his interviews went well at the combine. He just kind of didn't #do school well. Well, you don't have to do school if you're a linebacker in the NFL. So congrats, Willie Gay. You're going to the Super Bowl champs who definitely need you at linebacker. So that is the 1st round. Again, guys, 1,000 likes. I will drop a round 2 and 3 either tomorrow or on Sunday. Whenever this video gets to 1,000 likes, drop your comments down below what you think of the pick I made for your team. Who do you want your team to pick? Cheers as always, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace.